Another thing I'm interested in discussing with you is, you're working with these very specific, minimal materials
Yes.
that uh, are very repetitive. So you're working with the
Mm,
same colors and the same shapes over and over
yes.
again. And to me, that you're embracing a certain amount of restriction by just sticking with this same repetitive uh, color and shape of the individual components.
Mm-hmm.
However, the restriction that you're dealing with allows these restrictions that you're working with allow for infinite variations of shape in the way that you're building the structures that you're working with. And for me, there seems to be this push and pull between like extreme control and complete freedom in how you work with your materials. Um, were you thinking about that at all?
For my work, like you just said, the freedom will be the most important part of my work.
What led you to working exclusively only with concrete and plaster in a single shape? How did you decide that those were the materials and that was the shape you wanted to work with?
Well, use concrete because I like architecture and the structure of the building, and I see concrete is a very fundamental based material for building. So I would say this is the material I'm going to use for sure. And the plaster is a very common material for using sculpture. Say I will try try this material. That turns out the result is very good for me. So decide to use these two material, and the shape is uh, I was looking for the shape to use concrete and plaster. Then I just saw I have a pencil box about this shape. I said this could be a good shape of my work. So then I buy a lot of pencil box. Yeah.
So were you thinking about bricks, the
Yes.
use of bricks and bricklaying? Or it also, your work also makes me think in some ways about Lego.
Right. That's
Uh,
the Lego I am always interested in. So I want be my work a little bit architecture, but not very similar. So I choose this shape. In some way look like Lego, in some way look like architecture and structure material.
Are you interested at all in, talking about Lego in relation to actual real architecture? Makes me think of um, movements and artworks that have to do with fantasy architecture.
Mm,
So imagining architectural forms that are not tied to the practicality. They're not tied to actually being able to be built. Are you influenced by any of that kind of work?
I don't think so
No.
because yeah, yeah.
So you're very interested in the idea of the hands-on building. It seems like every part of this process for you actually is very physical,
Yes.
from mixing the concrete to making the blocks to pulling them out of the forms to then to then building the shape. The process of actually creating the forms that you're making with your own hands, and then in the case of what you're doing now with working with your brother in collaboration, it seems like the process really is as important, if not possibly even more important, than the final product.
Yeah, you're right. Because since I'm really like doing some handcraft. So I would like to put some effort of my work by making the block myself. So I decided to make all the blocks by myself. So this took a really long time. The final work I will start by myself. So it's kind of experience, not just the final work. So the whole year experience is a very very unique